about your team. And what I really want to hear from is A.J. Brown versus Garrett Wilson. It's an important decision. I have Wilson over Brown just because the unknown, but maybe that's irresponsible with A.J. Brown's second half. But Kellen Moore, who's going to benefit more? Devonta Smith, maybe both are. But I really want to hear you talk about Brown and Wilson. And was that an easy decision or was it a tough one?
Yeah, so let's go through my team because that'll get us into this discussion. With the 9th pick in the first round, I did go A.J. Brown. Round 2, I came back with Derrick Henry because, as I mentioned, I didn't love those wide receiver options. Drake London, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams are the wide receivers that went after. I just didn't love that, and we could talk through more of that decision because you went Achane right after. But round 3, I went DJ Moore. Round 4, I went Stephon Diggs. Round 5, Jaden Reed. Round 6, Ramondre Stevenson. Round 7, Kyler Murray. Round 8, Jaylen Warren, probably my favorite pick that I made, to be honest with you. Round 9, Brian Thomas. Round 10, Dallas Goedert. Round 11, Dontavian Wicks. Round 12, Rico Dowdle. Round 13, had to do it, Rashad Bateman, baby. Round 14, Audric Estime, and then I went kicker and defense. In the final 2 rounds, I went Matt Gay and the Texans defense. Who cares? Don't have a lot of takes there. But yeah, back to the A.J. Brown thing. So you said that the first 8 picks are solidified for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's yes.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. So in that vein, it was not an easy decision, because my confidence level in terms of this guy is a round 1 fantasy pick, it absolutely drops off at that 8th spot with Bijan Robinson in this draft. So the first 8 picks went Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Bijan Robinson. And yeah, like I said, I'm sitting there in the draft room thinking, Dalton, just please let one of these dudes fall to me, whether it's Bijan Robinson or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I figured it was probably not going to happen. You didn't let it happen. So I do think A.J. Brown's the next best pick off the board here, though, especially in a full PPR. We got to start 3 wide receivers in this league. I, number one, think that A.J. Brown should have had 2,000 yards last year. Just watching him charting his routes for reception perception, I think he was awesome. I don't think any of the production drop-off had anything to do with him. I think he's still a fantastic, bare minimum top 5 wide receiver in the league. I still think there's a pretty significant gap between how good A.J. Brown is and how good Devonta Smith is. And I'm a big Devonta Smith fan. So me saying that has nothing to do with how I feel about Smith. It's more just Brown is still an elite wide receiver in the prime of his career. And I do think that the transition to Kellen Moore's offense probably should benefit A.J. Brown. I think it's going to benefit Devonta Smith too, but Brown's route tree was just so static last year. I think they'll get him on the move, but there's no doubt that I think the risk of the overall ecosystem not quite hitting on all cylinders for a full 17 games is still very alive here. So while I feel best about him among the next best options like Garrett Wilson and Puka Nacua, it's not as secure as the first 8 picks, if that makes sense.
A.J. Brown was so dominant the first half of the year. Barkley, really, the underlying stats aren't pretty. He may not be a big factor as far as taking away any production from Brown. Kellen Moore using more motion. They're fast paced. Maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't rush 15 touchdowns. And Garrett Wilson, as much as I love the upside, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, some video of him, he's still over 40 and dealing with coming off a torn Achilles. So there's definitely some risk there. So I can see it. I'm not going to push back at all. I mean, would Wilson be your next pick though? Was he the guy you were debating the most?
Yeah, for sure. God, love Garrett Wilson, such a good player. And even if the Jets are like the 18th best offense in the NFL, he should dominate the target tree there to the point that I think he can be a round 1 fantasy receiver. So yeah, he'd be my next guy there.
All right, let's talk big dog. Derrick Henry in a PPR league. It's tough. It definitely with Lamar Jackson throwing to him in a PPR league. But man, are you just a little worried that every single person thinks he's going to score 20 touchdowns? Because I thought I was being contrarian when I ranked him 2 months ago. And there's another old guy I'm in, but man, everyone's expecting just such a monster season there. And even Justice Hill's getting talked up. But Henry can score 20 touchdowns even with a 55% snap share. I mean, it's I'm certainly not going to criticize this pick.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've been saying that on some private like meetings, like calls and stuff like that, internal calls here. We're putting together the draft day blueprint piece again, and had a discussion with our 3 wonderful editors, Jason Klobaka, Mo, and Kate Majuk, who are all in this draft as well. And I said, I was like, I don't know if it's just the natural contrarian in me, but I can't help thinking that the fact that every fantasy analyst thinks, or it was more like you said a couple of months ago, people were, well, you can get the guy who's going to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns in the third round. Why wouldn't you do it? I feel like I've heard every fantasy analyst say that, or something to the degree of he could score 20 touchdowns this season. He could lead the NFL in touchdowns, blah, blah. The fact that everybody's on board with it makes me extremely nervous that it's just not going to work out.